Hey everybody, welcome to Beaming Notes, and today we're going to look at the critical analysis, theme, and tone of the poem Not Marble Nor the Gilded Monuments by William Shakespeare. Critical analysis. Sonnet 55 is a poem about time and immortalization. The speaker claims that his beloved will wear out this world to the ending destiny. According to critics, the speaker's poem won't last much as compared to his beloved, even though his beloved is immortalized in the poem. The sonnet traces the progression of time from the physical endeavours built by man, such as tombstones, effigies, stonework, as well as the basic notion of conflict, to the concept of the Last Judgment. The young man will survive all these things through the verses of the speaker. Critics debate that Shakespeare's sudden increase of pride in his poetry was sternly artificial, a transparent attempt to mimic the style of the classical poets. It is harder on any other theory to reconcile the exaggerated self-importance of such a one as Sonnet 55 with the expressions of humility found in the sonnets themselves. The syntax of line 13, "So till the judgment that yourself arise," is confusing. Paraphrased, the line says, "Until the judgment day when you arise." The poet guarantees the youth that his splendor will remain immortal as long as one single person still lives to read these sonnets, which themselves will be immortal. Shakespeare seeks to build a rhetorical monument to his beloved, the fair lord. Nevertheless, the fair lord is not described or revealed in any way in this sonnet. In this place, the sonnet just addresses the idea of immortality through verse. The sonnet revolves around the keyword live. In the first stanza, the focus is the word outlive. In the second stanza, the focus is on the word living, whereas in the third stanza, it is on the word oblivious. The couplet focuses on the word live itself. Nevertheless, this raises the question of whether the young man actually continues to live bodily or if only his memory remains. There are mentions to being alive physically with lively phrases like, "You shall shine in these contents," and "Against death and all oblivious enmity shall you pace forth," and also to living in memory. The living record of your memory and your praise shall find room in the eyes of all posterity. This question is answered by the rhyme when it assigns real living to the day of the Last Judgment. The poem is rich in poetic devices. Shakespeare spreads the irony by stacking his small fragile sonnet against the stone art of dead rich guys. There are two pairs of alliteration, marble and monuments, bring the rich-sounding M's in line 1, and the P sounds of princes and powerful pop out in line 2. The lines 5 and 6 ramps up the imagery from things getting ruined by time of total destruction by war. Again, we can notice a 3-word W alliteration on "when wasteful war," followed by a 2-word S alliteration on "shall statues." In lines 7 and 8, Shakespeare gave us an internal rhyme, Mars and Wars. Shakespearean sonnet rhymes AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG, which means that the final two lines rhyme with each other as a couplet, giving everything a nice, wrapped up with a bow feel. Theme. Sonnet 55 by William Shakespeare has two themes, the passing of time and the immortalizing of a young man. The first half of the Shakespeare sonnet shares out his love for a young man and forever keeping him alive through the sonnets that Shakespeare wrote. Sonnet 55, one of Shakespeare's most celebrated poetries, asserts the immortality of the poet's sonnets to resist the forces of decay over time. Here, we find an emotional burst of confidence as the poet claims to have the power to keep his friend's memory alive evermore. The sonnet continues his theme in the sonnet, in which the poet likens himself to a distiller of trust. The poem addresses the same theme of immortality, but the poet boasts that only natural forces, but human wars and battles cannot blot out his sonnets, which are a living record of the youth. Monuments and statues may be desecrated during war, but not so these rhymes. The poet assures the youth that his beauty will remain immortal as long as one single person still lives to read these sonnets, which themselves will be immortal. Sonnet 55 builds on the theme of poetry, outlasting physical monuments to be dead. This theme of immortality through verse is common in Shakespeare's sonnets. The wreck of time is a recurring theme in Shakespeare's sonnets. Often it is addressed in terms of his inevitable effect on beauty and youth, especially that of the fair lord, but here its impact on statues and shrines is the emphasis. Tone. The sonnet has a tone of both pride and humility. The speaker, undoubtedly Shakespeare, cannot afford a marble monument to the loved one, or perhaps is not entitled to commission such a monument. But he knows he can write poetry that will outlast the most ostentatious tombstone. The poet's own works are a better testament to his memory than a great pyramid. The introductory lines of Sonnet 55 create a setting of a burial ground full of stone memorials of all figures and dimensions. This put forward that the person to whom Shakespeare is addressing this sonnet is dead, and that therefore the poem is a sort of ode or memorial. Otherwise, if the addressee is not dead, then this kind of poetic imagery could seem gloomy and offensive to the recipient. The tone of the first stanza or first 4 lines replicates the great self-assurance of the poet. His dominant rhyme is parallel to the sturdy marble and solid, gilded inscriptions that mark the tombs of princes.